complete outpouring of service. Whoever wants to save his life on this earth will lose it, but whoever loses their life gives of themselves entirely, just as he did. All in love, all in service, all in charity, will in turn save their life. This whole mission of service, this whole mission of giving, it all has to do with works. Our faith brings us here to worship week after week, hearing his word, receiving his sacrament. And Mass means to be sent. We're sent to go out and by our works show that charity, show that love, show that mercy to all that we encounter. But we have to think in our mind, how often do we do these works? Because they're hard. They're very hard. I have a friend that keeps in touch with me every day and will send me a text message, how'd your day go? And it's great. I got up, I went and got coffee, I went and celebrated Mass, I went to work, and it was a good day. Then I'll always get the text message back. Yeah, but how did you save a soul today? He says that kind of tongue-in-cheek facetiously, but he really does mean it too. And it really makes you think, okay, what did I do? Of course, I'm a priest, I'm supposed to be doing this all the time, but you have to kind of recall, what acts of mercy did I truly do today? Or was I just too focused on my stuff or my routine or my own agenda? I think we all think about that, because especially when we're in our day-to-day lives, we have our routines. And everything we do all day, even if we're at work, we have reports due, we have things that we need to do, serve the customer, this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, it's all about us. What did we do to actually reach out outside of our bubble and show that mercy? Because yes, faith alone, but we're faith and works. Our faith leads us to want to do good works, and our good works lead us back to worship God in greater faith. Again, in love, mercy, and charity. So I think that we should reflect today on something that we have in the Catholic Church called the corporal and the spiritual works of mercy. Getting outside of ourselves and seeing what are we truly called to do. I love that letter of James because it gives us that wonderful image of the person who is without clothing, without food, standing right in front of us. And all the person says back is, oh, well, be well fed, be good, but then does nothing to give them food or give them clothing. Just sends them along their merry way. And if we're walking down the street, especially down in Boston or some of these big cities, we do see people like that. And is it ever in our mind, we get outside of ourselves to realize that there are needy people that need of our corporal acts of mercy, of food, of clothing. Do we donate to organizations who help them out? Some of us are even able to give gift cards to help them get food at that very, very moment. That's a corporal work of mercy. So these two acts of mercy, corporal and spiritual. Corporal is bodily, so anything that we do to help somebody in their physical needs. The spiritual works of mercy are those for the emotional, the spiritual well-being of those that we minister day after day. So I'm going to be reading them as I'm going to list them. I think that we just reflect in our day-to-day life, and this week, when somebody asks us how our day was, maybe we can go a little bit deeper and say, what did we do to help save somebody's soul this week? And as the gospel says, and Jesus tells us, whoever loses their life for the sake of the gospel saves it. So what did we do to save our own soul this week? It isn't just our routine stuff about us. What did we do to save the soul of somebody else and save our own? The deacon was laughing at me in between masses. He's like, I can't believe you don't have the corporal and spiritual works of mercy memorized. And I don't, unfortunately. But that's why I have my trusty iPad. So the corporal works of mercy are those acts of kindness which help our neighbors with their material and physical needs. Feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, clothing the naked, visiting the sick and the imprisoned, burying the dead, and giving alms to the poor. And the spiritual works of mercy, those acts of compassion which help our neighbors with their emotional and their spiritual needs. Instructing the ignorant. So forming our children, we're supposed to be celebrating catechists today. Catechists who give of themselves during the year to form children in the way of faith. And we're all called to do that in our families and those that we encounter. Instructing, advising, consoling the sorrowful. Just yesterday in the church, I was just walking through the church, and a woman was very, very distraught. She's going to be losing her dog. And she was noticeably very, very upset, and it's a very difficult time. And as I was walking through the church, somebody saw her and sat with her. And apparently she just lost her dog a couple of months ago and was able just to sit and hear her and comfort her and console her. That was an act of mercy, so simple, but it was so beautiful to watch because the Spirit is obviously at work here. It was just so awesome. Comforting, forgiving, and bearing wrongs patiently. So when somebody asks us how our day was, they would get beyond the surface and go back into these mercy things. And again, works are hard. To do any one of these things, sometimes we do have to say, okay, what am I going to do today to reach outside of myself? Because if we don't plan it, if we don't really push ourselves to do it, we can go days, months, and years without that ever happening. So how did you save a soul today? And how did you save your own?